Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Pearcey Presents the Pearcey Presents podcast.
Hello and welcome, this is Pearcey of the Pearcey Presents podcast. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the very first Pearcey Presents podcast. As you would have seen in the show title, our first guest is none other than Mr. Heath Scotland.
Oh! Is it Scotland?
Yes.
Against the flow. He's groggy and still hasn't quite got up.
That's why this game is tough. I'll say.
Such courage against all the flow there. There's Simpson to Murphy. Will they give Fev one? No, Murphy running in and caresses it home. And Scotland's groggy, but he helped in all of that, and he really is groggy.
Scotland the brave.
Former Collingwood and Carlton great, turned entrepreneur of SO Premium Signage. But more on that later. Also, I do apologise about the sound quality. We were on Lygon Street, so I have tinkered around with the audio, but that's why you'll hear some cars, some tinkering in the background of plates, etc. Not all the episodes will be like this, so I do apologise. I like to think it gives the show a little bit of atmosphere, so I just thought I'd give you a bit of a heads up on that as well. Due to Heath spending a generous amount of time with me, I've decided to cut this episode up into two parts. So what you'll hear today, the initial Pearcey Presents podcast, although you will see 3 episodes on the release date, is part 1. We're going to cover off a vast array of topics. And believe me, episode 1 is awesome, but part 2 is a cannot be missed episode. However, if I could get you to do me a huge favour, please. If you could please subscribe to the Pearcey Presents podcast, and once you've had a listen to these episodes, if you could rate me, and if you wouldn't mind giving me 5 stars, that would be a massive help. That'll help us get up the iTunes charts and hopefully get more listeners to the Pearcey Presents show. Also, I am running a competition, so there'll be a bit of a prize booty. Once we get to the 100 reviews and 100 subscriptions, you'll receive a Lindsay Gaze signed drink bottle or hat. You have a choice of one of those items, and a mini basketball, a signed Heath Scotland picture. I'm working on that as we speak. And a Pearcey Presents prize pack. That includes a Pearcey Presents hat, t-shirt, stickers, a Pearcey Presents travel mug, and a few other goodies that I'll include along the way. Until we hit that 100 5-star reviews, I'm going to continue to get items from our guests. And if we do reach 100 5-star reviews before the end of the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and you'll also get a ticket to a Melbourne comedian that has travelled the world and will be a guest in the next week or so. A little bit on part 1 of our chat with Heath. Heath was extraordinarily kind with his time, his passion and commitment to being an elite sportsman, growing up with a footy in his hands, the transition he made from an elite AFL football player to an entrepreneur, and a stop or two in between. He tells an absolute cracking story about originally not getting picked for Vic Country, but his passion and desire overcame that. This is an awesome story. If you're at an age where you have kids, get your kids to listen to it. This is an awesome, as I said, this is an awesome story about not taking no for an answer. If you really and truly want something, you need to go for it and not take no for an answer. Going back to coaching his local footy club where he grew up at Darley and winning a flag. His coaching philosophies, the battles between being selfish and being a team player at the elite level. Something that would be an interesting lesson for any player of a team sport. His time at the Pies, almost getting traded to the Roos, and why that didn't actually happen. Almost going to Freo, but back in those days, the fax machine didn't work. He talks about Bucks, which I thought there was a rift. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. You'll have to listen and find out. Then eventually getting to the Blues. And maybe one of the highlights of this first episode is his comments and thoughts on Mick Malthouse.
If the prerequisite is to bellyache, scream, yell and carry on, if that's the prerequisite, I'll have our blokes do it every time.
I don't know if he's said much about Mick Malthouse in the media before. His thoughts on Mick Malthouse are very, very surprising. Well, not so much surprising, but him having the freedom now to actually voice his concern or voice his opinions on Mick during his time at the Pies, and certainly in episode 2 at his time at the Blues, blew my hat off. So certainly stay tuned for that. He's really honest, which is really refreshing. As I said, he's an absolute great bloke, and as I said, please support his business, SO Premium Signage. That's something that I'm not going to go overboard on the show, but it is just a nice little thank you to these guys that have transitioned from entertainment career or a sports career, that I can try and give them a little bit of a thanks in promoting their business. So if you do need any signage or promotional items, please get in contact with Heath. Tell him that you heard him on Pearcey Presents. It's always a bit of good recognition for the show. sopremiumsignage.com, Instagram, SO Premium Signage, and on Facebook at sopremiumsignage.com.au. Again, I really hope you look forward to the show. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Pearcey Presents and Snapchat. And don't forget to share the link to the shows and get your friends to have a listen. And subscribe and give it a 5-star rating and enter the competition. Thanks so much, and sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Okay, so we are here with Heath Scotland, AFL footballer at the highest level, representing at the elite level Carlton and Collingwood football clubs over a 16-year journey. He's played football for many years, starting at the Darley Football Club, moving on to the Ridley District Football League, playing for the Western Jets in the TAC Cup, the Vic Metro Under-18s, then being picked up by the Mighty Pies, pick number 44 overall in the 1998 draft. He's become a successful entrepreneur recently. It is his pleasure to welcome Mr. Heath Scotland. Welcome, Heath.
Thanks, Pearcey.
So it's a real pleasure to have you on, mate. We're here on Lygon Street today. Obviously, your life has been a full and exciting one. You grew up in Darley, which is obviously a world away from Lygon Street, where we are today.
Certainly. Darley up in back of Smash. Spent most of my childhood up there. Played footy, went to school. Town I was lived in was a town called Blackwood, where my mother lived, and my dad in Sunshine. So I spent most of my childhood between both. So I did get the little bit of the city in Sunshine, but the western side, and then up to the bush for most of the time. So yeah, Lygon Street certainly is a fair bit different than both of those areas, but I enjoy being here.
And you would have spent a bit of time here when you were playing for the Blues, I take it?
Yeah, certainly. Definitely come down here for a nice meal, and got my first foray into coffee. Actually, a good friend of mine, Andrew DiMattina, with his restaurant just up the road. And when I was at Collingwood, we used to come here Wednesday nights after training as a group of players, and we'd have a feed together. And that's where I first started trying to taste coffee and drinking coffee. Now I'm probably going off about 6 a day. So how things change.
Keep going. What was your drink of choice before coffee?
Water, soft drink, whatever. Yeah,
all the healthy stuff.
I didn't. I certainly didn't really like coffee the first time, but I've grown accustomed to it.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of it. I don't know why. It's something that probably dangerous for me. I like soft drinks, so as you can tell. So I stopped it for a while. Hasn't been great for me in a soft drink at the moment. Never got into coffee. Don't mind tea. No. Green tea's okay. So one day maybe I'll be like you, mate, and get an acquired taste for coffee.
Yes.
Well, hopefully I will be off 6. So that's my problem. I'll be off 6 or 10 a day, and I'll be buzzing off the roof. So start back at the start of your sporting life, so to speak. You started at Darley. When did you start playing? Was that like junior footy? Did you start at I know it's Auskick these days, but it used to be like when I played Vic Kick.
Yeah, no, well, there was Vic Kick, but I don't think it really was up that region at that stage. Certainly didn't do Vic Kick. My first introduction into football was through my brothers, my father, my stepdad, all were involved playing football. So, from earliest of memories, I was at the football watching them play. Okay. So, I enjoyed the game. Started to love it, I suppose, and then ended up having my first game of football under nines actually at a club called Braybrook where my dad was involved in, and played a handful of games there. Then my first full season was at Darley in under 10. So been in love with the game for many years.
And were you always a bit of a standout, or? Don't be modest, mate.
No. Look, I wouldn't say I was the best player myself. I was always probably quite good. I was always in the top couple in my age group, but by no means was I by far the best player in my teams. A couple of my good mates, we always have a laugh about I used to run second him in the best and fairest every year. It was for me football. My probably ability increased, and I got improvement in my game just over the years through my dedication, passion for the game. I always had a football in my hand. And I loved footy. My idol was Dougie Hawkins, and fortunately we were family friends with him, so I got to see him quite a lot, and that only just stoked the fire even more. I was a passionate Bulldog supporter as a kid, so I just love footy. So I was always had one in my hand, always training, always playing. So I probably just naturally improved through the years because of that.
Do you think that's something that's missing these days with kids? Because I've talked to a few people about this, and I miss the days where you used to, and obviously I wasn't driving when I was young, that'd be a bit weird, but I used to love kicking the footy at the front of the house. And playing cricket in the summer. You don't see that these days. You see the occasional people play basketball, which I can understand with the NBA growth and stuff like that. But you don't see, thanks mate, but you don't see, you don't have to worry about stopping every 5 minutes because there's kids kicking the footy. Do you think that's something that's lost? But saying that, the skills of the game, obviously now it's full time, are so much better. So is there a correlation between that? I'm kind of contradicting myself, I know, but...
Yeah, I suppose my take on it is, first of all, I think it is missing in the younger kids a bit more just due to their options. As a kid, I didn't have many options of things to do. There wasn't I didn't live in the city as often. I might have been in Sunshine every second weekend visit my dad, but we were at football on Saturdays. Yeah. I'd see him on a Friday night, and then bit of family time with him on Sunday, and then go home. My week up at Blackwood, a small country town with 100 odd people living there. Right on the edge of the forest. There wasn't a whole heap to do, but maybe exploring the forest as a kid and build cubby houses.
Cubby houses, yeah.
Kick a footy. At school, my mates were all into football or sports, so we were always playing football. So, for me, there wasn't a whole heap of options and nothing that really stimulated myself to do anything else. So I was football, and most of my friends were up in the country. And wasn't too much else to do. So the kids nowadays, I think, have so many options of things to do. You look at phones and iPads and video games and toys. There's a whole range of different stuff to do. Then you go out and there's play centres, and there's just so much variety now that they've got choices, and they probably don't hone in on the one type of skill, which for me was football. So their early years, they probably don't naturally pick up that skill level. But then the flip side is saying the skill level of the kids coming in nowadays is so far superior, and I agree. I think every generation are getting better because the coaching's getting better. Yes. The kids that are identified as as being more elite, I suppose, their training's more purposeful. They're learning more specific stuff than probably what we did from my generation and maybe the generation before. So, like I said, the coaching's probably more accurate in terms of honing in on their skill development and things like that. So that's why their skill level is at a level. They're putting hours into that skill at a teenage years, I suppose, where we mightn't have as much at our age and the years before, but it was probably more growing through just kicking the footy with your mates.
Exactly. And do you think that the sports science in this day and age, maybe towards the end of your time, has gone a little bit too extreme to the point where you can only have 50 kicks in a training session, where we used to, and I never played at any high level, but you used to stay after training and for half an hour, 45 minutes, have ping shots for the boundary from 50. But these days, they're that monitored, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think there's, I probably should mention this first. I think there's a spot for it, and it's certainly important for a game with the improvement. But I certainly feel that sometimes it's overcompensating for the sports science, and we're too careful about what players are doing. The body's. I'm a big believer on how strong the human body is and what you can put yourself through. And for me, a lot of my training was built off repetition, and I trained a lot. I always kicked football, even as a junior, adolescent years. I was training 5 to 6 days a week. I'd be at my local footy club 2 nights. I'd be at the Western Jets 2 nights. I'd be training the off night with my stepdad's side when he was coaching with the seniors there. I'd run the boundary on a Saturday for my brother's team. I'd play on a Sunday. I got through no dramas. I was tired at times, but I think probably what they did was prepare me for them becoming an elite athlete. Now kids are breaking down, they're monitored too much, you can't push them too hard. Now I understand you can't push them too much, but I think there's a fine balance, and the individual knows that. Like as a player, as an elite athlete, I always argued the point with sports scientists that I know my body better than they do, so I know what I was capable of getting through and what I wasn't. So provided they got the right mental approach and players aren't taking liberties, I think you know yourself what you can push yourself through. So sports scientists can sometimes, I believe, can be too much on that. How many kicks? A player will know if he's a bit tight and sore, if he's honest with himself and the coaches. And certainly from a skill development side of things, what everyone talks about, goal kicking. If you're getting 20 shots on goal as opposed to probably Tony Lockett, who might have had 200 a night, like it's any wonder that they were experts in their craft.
Exactly, and they wouldn't miss. But compared to today, and that's the one thing I know everyone talks about it, that the one skill that doesn't improve is goal kicking. And I know that Dixon's been employed by, I think it's Essendon, and he's got his own business in football development.
Stars or whatever.
That's right. Yep. And I think that that's going to be the next phase of AFL or AFL team development, is having someone. I don't know, Collingwood and most clubs have had someone part-time, but it's a battle between that person and a sports scientist. Like Sav Rocker did it.
Sav was successful with Levi.
That's right.
Then they didn't renew his contract for a year, and Levi's accuracy went down. And he's back there again doing good things. So look, there is. I think with all of that, like I said, there's a place for sports scientists. I think it's that balance of understanding how it all works together. And unfortunately, in a professional environment of AFL football, there's so many different components all fighting for that limited time. And on top of that, now players are expected to have time off away from the club as well. So coaches and football clubs are really, I think, struggling to maximise the time with every different department in every different area. And unfortunately, the byproduct of that is you have some areas that probably get neglected a little bit based on the importance at the time felt by the coaches. And goal kicking can be one. I'm not saying all clubs are like this, or even Carlton by any stretch of imagination, but goal kicking can probably fall in that category. Sometimes the same when we train, we kick the footballs a lot. They've done enough, maximise the time, let's get out and get up. And that's maybe a skill that gets left behind sometimes because of that.
And as a Joe Blow supporter for a long time, to me that just sounds really counterintuitive, because to win a game you need to kick goals. You spend so much time getting the ball down there, and then you waste a chance. Yeah. So, I completely understand where you're coming from.
From that, and focusing only on that, and I was never a forward, so it's probably a bit out of my depth to be talking about, but certainly, in terms of developing that skill, this is where I get back to. There's nothing wrong with the player going, well, I've got my time of training to do X, Y, and Z, but taking it on their own to go out and improve their skill level by taking football, whether they're at home and they've got a park and I'm just going to go and have a kick at the footy and have 20 shots on goal. They're the differences when we talk about when you're a kid, you used to go and do. You'd go down the oval and kick the footy. You'd have 30 shots on goal, practicing different things, because you didn't really have much else option. Now, kids don't do that because they've got another option, or players think, well, this is my time away from football. I might just use it in developing skills outside of the game or rest. So, but there's nothing wrong with them.
Which is all important. So,
kick,
absolutely.
The onus is on the individual
to do it. Yeah, and I remember hearing a story from Brendan Favola that he took a bag of footies out after training. I'm not quite sure. Did you play with Brendan?
Yeah, played, 5-6 years.
Sure.
Yeah. And under 18s, we played Teal Cup together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's when I first met. So, yeah.
So I heard a story that after a particular training, I don't know how often he did it, but he took a bag of footies, went down to literally his local park and just had shots at goal. Yeah. And that's probably the difference between being a good player and being a superstar at a particular skill. Like, he was a great kicker goal, and not just saying off those one or two sessions of kicking goal, but that's obviously the dedication at his craft because he was a goal kicker.
And I put it there, anything in life. People that are good at things, generally they've got a level of talent naturally, but it's through their work. I'm a big believer in the harder you work, the luckier you get. And and by people in general who are successful in their field have worked hard at it.
Absolutely, nothing comes easy, does it?
That's right.
So moving on from Darley, you were at how long were you at the Ridley District Football League?
Riddle.
Riddle.
No, yeah, Riddle. Riddle was the lead that governed our junior side. So I was there from under 10s through to under 16s. That stage, Darley, in 97, as a club, they transferred from the Riddle District Football League to the Ballarat Football League.
Yes.
And at that stage too, I was 16. I was down the Western Jets, but I got my first taste of senior football. So when I was playing back at Darley as a 17-year-old, 16 turning 17, first year under 18s, I was fortunate enough that the senior coach there didn't see value in me playing under 18 football, so I played that year in the seniors in the Ballarat Football League. So that was probably, for me, one of the significant, I suppose, periods of my life that probably fast-tracked my football ability and improvement to eventually end up making AFL. I was playing OK football at Western Jets. I played a couple of games that year, but I was by no means as a regular as a bottom age player. Okay. 4 or 5 games I think I played, and I was just making up numbers. I'd been cut actually from the Western Jets twice, and forced my way back. One of them on my own volition, the other one by the coaches invited me back. But I'd had setbacks through that period. Just stayed pretty hungry with it, and then that year as a 17-year-old, turning 17, the coach played me. I was used to playing against men. By the time I went back to the Western Jets as an 18-year-old, I was used to playing against men, and confidence grew, and I had a pretty good year, which enabled me to get drafted.
You obviously got cut twice. You said that your own volition.
Well, I sort of laughed at by one of the coaches now, but I was just under 16s, and I didn't make the squad, and Western Jets, and they said, look, hey, you didn't make it, see you later, and it was a Friday, and I was extremely disappointed and upset. And I thought, and I remember talking to my family about it. And I think the stepdad said, well, why don't you just go to training Monday, see what they say? And I thought, I was confident I could make the side. And then, as a 16, I went back on the Monday, and I made I went to training, and apparently, the story goes, the coach was going, well, what's Heath doing here? And no one said anything. I said, obviously, they're too not scared, but they just sort of maybe didn't want to embarrass me by saying he didn't make it, so let me train out the night. Then the Wednesday come up, and I was there again, and they were talking, going, well, geez, what's he doing? And apparently at the end of that training session, said, well, if he turns up Friday, we're just going to have to be blunt with him. So you didn't make it, go. You're not here. And what ended up happening was on the Friday, I turned up to the training session, and they had a practice match in intra-club, and short on numbers, so they used me up and said, well, we need him to play. I played well, made the squad. So it was sort of, that could have been looked at as a turning point. Could have went back, I suppose, and never gone any further in my football, but I was pretty passionate about playing footy, and I was pretty dedicated, and self-belief was pretty strong. So, that's how I ended up making that squad. And then, even as a under 18s, that following year, as I played the full year in the Western Jets, I made the Vic Metro squad and got cut from that. Fortunately enough, my form over the next 4 games were pretty good. Got invited back, played for Victoria that year, and Carnival was okay, but
you weren't picked though, but you just kept rocking up.
No, I didn't keep rocking up that one, but I was disappointed not to make the squad. But fortunately, I went back and worked hard, and my form at the Western Jets for the next 4 or 5 games was pretty strong. I got invited back and played a practice game, played well, and like I said, made the final squad. We played the Carnival in Adelaide, and that's I was mates with Brendan Favola. That's where I formed the friendship with him. I did a couple of good things from all reports in that game. Speaking to recruiters after, which enabled me to get drafted. So it's funny how fate happens, and setbacks sometimes can be big motivating forces to drive you. And when you talk about me being a star player in my field, that's why I always refer to saying by far and away I was not. I always felt like I had to work pretty hard as a kid, and I had a level of ability, but certainly it was probably my dedication and commitment and determination that pushed me through some of them setbacks that eventually found my way to an AFL list.
Because otherwise, from what I can gather, is you obviously had a fair amount of skill, but if you decided that you couldn't be bothered that Monday night,
I had a lot of friends like that, and it would have been differently. If I could have easily turned and said, "Well, I didn't make it, go back," and that was the end of it. So I was always determined and motivated to, and I believe that I could play. So
that's a great story.
I pushed hard for it. Even skill, I suppose I've always been confident in my kicking ability, and it's probably something that most people say that I'm reasonably good at.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was repetition from my end. I was never a natural good kick. I kicked the football a hell of a lot as a kid, and my left foot was a strength of mine, being able to use the opposite, like my good foot, but that came through kicking on it nearly more than I did my good foot. So,
yes.
Again, I don't think any talent's really born. You got to work for it, and I feel like I did through my career, and that's probably something when you finish your playing career that you look back with satisfaction, regardless of whether your premierships or whatever you achieved. You can feel. I can feel
vindicated.
Yeah, that's the word, vindicated or complete, that I achieved something through effort and hard work.
And is that something that you're taking into, which we'll cover in a little bit more detail, a lot more detail shortly, but that hard work and that passion you are taking into SO Platinum signage?
Premium signage,
Sorry,
yes.
premium signage?
Yeah, certainly. So, look, I'm a big believer in passion. I'm a passionate man. That's what's enabled me to succeed at some things, and certainly been my downfall at times, in serious events in my life that mightn't have been positive. But, I'm a passionate person. I believe passion drives you. You were speaking earlier about your passion for what you're doing here, and I think passionate people, there's no other outcome but to succeed. If you're passionate about something, it drives you, pushes you through the hard times, and certainly from a football aspect, I was always passionate. And I adopt that through everything in life, relationships, work, whatever it might be. I think if you're not passionate, why do it? So if it doesn't motivate you to get out of bed, you're just clocking in and clocking out, and you're counting down the days. Your life's too short.
Exactly my thoughts.
So certainly it's something I adopt with all parts of my life.
We'll cover off Collingwood and Carlton shortly, but back full circle to Darley. You've been the coach there last year. Was that your first year there? How have you found going back to local footy, which I personally commend you, which is fantastic. You've gone back to your home club.
Yes.
Being in the league environment for 16 plus years, going back to home, back to where you basically, your love of the game was fostered. You're obviously welcome back with open arms.
Mm-hmm.
How has that transition gone?
To be honest, last year was probably one of the most rewarding periods of my life, to be honest, from a football aspect. I've been fortunate enough to achieve what I wanted to in a professional, bar a premiership, obviously, a professional environment in a sport, an area I loved. I've been playing AFL for as long as I did. But to go back to a club that I grew up in, always had strong connections with. I'd like to think of myself as being reasonably grounded, and if I wasn't, close friends would have made me aware of that.
Yes.
So I was always back watching Darley games. My best mates, the groomsmen, were my mates from school. I've got good mates in football, but certainly the people I grew up with, I tried to maintain strong relationships through my football career and didn't forget where I came from.
That's awesome.
So going back there, it was a fit. The coach previously, Jared Edwards, brother Jake, I played with at Carlton. Was fantastic at that football club. Got them to and won their first premiership in the Ballarat League in 2015, and then stood down 3/4 of the way through. Coach at the year, but sort of said he wasn't going to coach again for 2017 during the back end of 2016. So I'd spoken to Darley. At that stage, I was playing football with Ben Johnson, a good friend of mine out at Doncaster. Yes. So I was playing local football. I had 2 years out at Doncaster, which I enjoyed, but really seen a great opportunity for me emotionally, mentally, to go back to a club I love, through people I know, and coach. I'm passionate about football, so I really, was keen to coach. And then to be involved last year, like I said, was really rewarding. I was able to coach what I believe in football, see improvement, and eventually the outcome of a senior premiership and our reserves winning a premiership as well. And there's a period after we won the flag, and I was I'm an intense type of person when it comes to football, and even up in the last couple of minutes, we're up by 50 odd points, but the last couple of minutes I was still intense, wanting to win for everybody, not for me.
No.
And there was a period where we won the siren went, and everyone's out in the field and celebrating with their families. And I really had to take a step back and soak it all in. And that probably 2-minute period was, like I said, one of the most rewarding periods of football, because I was able to sit back and look at some of these people that I've known for 20 years, just the joy on all their faces. Personally, like I said, really high in a football career. That I'm fortunate enough to say I've had some great highs, but that's as equal to any. Yeah.
That's unreal. And I believe that from a coaching perspective, that it's those couple of minutes after the game that are the best as a coach. As you said, you've taken a step back, which I think is a real sign of maturity. That was your first year coaching, is that correct?
Yep.
That you were able to emotionally and in a coaching aspect be able to step back and go, just take it all in, see your mates that you've known for 20 years, the old lady that's been supporting for the last 50 years, the young kids that are sons and daughters of the new players, the wives, mums. You've just stepped back instead of running out. Not saying you take the glory, but step back and just soak it in. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Well, it was
that's
that for
unreal.
Me, I know I think all footy clubs, particularly local football clubs, are really tight knit. But I've always preached the uniqueness of a Darley Football Club. It's born off families that have been there for years, and it's nearly ancestral how related everybody is in the football club.
Yeah.
And I've known a lot of them or their families for my lifetime since I was 10. So, to sit back and see the joy on a lot of people's faces. Yeah, it was really rewarding. And blokes, one of my close friends played his first flag there ever, and it was his last game of football. So, like I said, and as a coach, to see people that you're teaching achieve something is extremely rewarding. As a player, you're extremely selfish, and make no bones about it. In an AFL environment, even though you are, you're a team first and you play for your club, you have to have an element of selfishness to succeed. It's elite sport where everybody's fighting for that top spot.
You're a number on a list.
You are. Now you've got to find that right balance to make it all work, and I certainly think that the better players to have at AFL level still have a team. More team focused than individual, but they are still selfish in their approach to get the best out of themselves. But as a coach, you're teaching people, so it's more about giving than an individual, and to see, each coach will be different. My beliefs will be different than this coach, but seeing players believe in what you believe in, then apply what you're asking them to apply, and then achieve something. It's selfishly, it's stimulating for me. It's an extremely rewarding job, but it's certainly, it involves everybody.
That's great. Selfishness, is that something that you ever struggled with during your time?
In terms of?
The team and individual?
Oh, look, no. You understand the environment. And like I said, as a young player, so just probably to narrow it down a bit, more clearly, you get drafted to a football club and you've got named to play a game. You play that game, you've got named to play this season. You play that season, you've got named to play to be a regular player permanently, and then to be the best player. There's elements of I wouldn't say selfishness, but individualism that you need to achieve this. But you've got to find the right balance to be able to push yourself